Yeah.
My customers use per connection about 4,800 gallons a month.
Mm-hmm.
So divide that by
150 gallons a day per employee?
No, that's
Per customer, okay. So you 50? So it's about 80 is what the national average is of gallons of water that we use as Americans per day. Do you know what the average for the rest of the world is? Right, so it's about 30, 35. I mean, in the developed world, not in the non-developed world, it's more like 1, maybe 2. So what we face today is, where you're going with this question is, this big challenge is the developing nations of the world want to be like us, right? Everyone wants to have the freedoms that we have in America. We want to be able to use the amount of electricity that we have. We want to be able to use the amount of water that we have. Where on earth are we going to get all of this water? And how are we going to prevent conflict as 6-point-something billion want to use 80 gallons of water a day? So how does this fit into what we do? So what we do is we measure and we track and we report on any type of energy or environmental consumption that is relevant to an organization. Irrelevant information doesn't do anyone any good, right? So we need to ensure that what we're delivering our client is a solution that makes sense for them, that says, hey, I want to understand how I'm using this information, and I want to understand how I can make better investment decisions on what this information is telling me. So that's what we do, is tap into that source flow of data and provide it to you in a format that you can actually do something with it. Now, I can't solve the problem of national security or global security around water rights. It's a big issue, and especially as we start going into this environment of climate change, climate zones are shifting, where agriculture is going to be grown in 50 years is different to where it is today. I don't know if any of you can tell you, but I have a funny accent. So in Australia, we've been living in a drought for the last 25 years. Now, we went from this really unique experience where we've been praying for it to rain for 25 years, and then last year we started praying for it to stop raining because we flooded the country. Now, a size of Western Europe was underwater in Australia last year because of the amount of rain we had. Now, part of it was the ground was really dry and none of it was able to absorb into the aquifer, but that's some of the challenges. Yes?
Do you anticipate that Microsoft is going to use this taxing model relative to executive compensation at various levels?
Yes. I don't anticipate it. I know.
Can you give us a little more data on how eventually this internal tax is going to be used properly?
Yeah, I can't give you data around exactly how Microsoft is going to do it, obviously for privacy reasons, but what I can talk about from a concept of driving behavior and setting targets, if there isn't a link to compensation, you're never going to affect behavior. So what Microsoft are doing is they're recognizing this and they're imposing this price signal across all of their business units. So Microsoft have some big business units. You've got Xbox, for instance, and they're building data centers across the world because this online gaming environment it's critical to have minimum latency of delivery of service. So they're building a lot of data centers across the globe. And these data centers use water, they use electricity, so on and so forth. You've got MSN, you've got Bing, you've got Office, you've got all of their other business units. So what they are trying to understand today is, as we start to roll out this internal tax, there's two things, right? I need to be able to budget for what my tax is going to be, potentially. So we're helping them understand that now, of what their energy, their environmental footprint, what these price signals are how they're going to impact each of their executives, so that they can forecast to the future for it. But then, secondly, they need to set their own performance targets so that they can achieve their goals, so that they can reduce their consumption, so that at the end of the day, Microsoft is not going to be carbon neutral without buying offsets. We can't reduce our consumption or we can't go and buy 100% renewable energy without having some kind of offset. I mean, what do you think is one of the two largest components to Microsoft's environmental footprint? The first one's a furphy. It's real easy to guess. Electricity, right? They use a lot of electricity in their operations. What do you think the second largest component of Microsoft's environmental footprint is? And it's not water. Yes? HVAC is electricity, because electricity drives your HVAC. Okay? Say again? Solid waste? Nope. Very small. Executive air travel. Right? How many days of the business year do you think Microsoft has an executive on a plane, either a public plane or one of their own fleet of planes? Just about every single day. So it's a massive impact for them. So they want to be able to measure that, manage it. Now, where we come from this challenge is we want to focus on the areas for a company like Microsoft that we can actually move the needle. So we're focusing on these large impact areas. Purchased electricity is number one. How can we streamline data collection, reporting, so that they can understand where is it feasible for us to go and buy renewable energy? Where can we go ahead and buy other RECs to offset that energy footprint? Number two is this executive travel. How can we capture better quality data to understand where our executives going, why are they sitting on planes and not using our collaboration technology like Link or online meeting or now Skype to do a lot of that. Now, I mean, I come from a business world, and face-to-face is really important from a sales perspective, and we need to do that. But I really want to be able to evaluate not just what the cost is, but what's the environmental cost of me jumping on a plane and flying across to Seattle every second week, which is what I've been doing effectively this year, to help manage this account. So what else? What are some other burning issues that we've got in this room? I mean, we've got some big companies here. What are some of the challenges that you guys are facing around how do you track and measure your own energy or environmental performance? Yeah.
Over my career, I can't begin to tell you how many failed efforts that I've been involved with in the data collection area. We get a team of people together, and we're all excited, and we go out and we measure, and we monitor, and we do all of this, and we get all this data. And the first thing that hits us is, oh my God, now what do we do with it? And secondly, it's a resource. You can't do this part-time. You need dedicated, full-time group to work with this. As Microsoft to overcome these two situations.
So Microsoft have a lot of data. They have access to a lot of data, and they want more. What Microsoft have done, and so what's your company?
Fair Healthcare.
Okay. So where I started around these two characteristics of Microsoft, they're big, complex data sets, so it makes sense for them to try to manage that. The other one was that executive commitment to measure their own impact. That's where, and it sounds great. I'm going to go and sub-meter every circuit that I've got in my building or across my plant or across my organization. I'm going to capture all this information. But as you say, if we don't have an idea of why I want this information and what am I going to do with it, then I'm just going out and chasing data points, and that really doesn't create any value. So with my experience working with Microsoft, what I found fascinating was very early in the process, they defined exactly why and what they wanted to do with this information. And they were able to say, well, we want to be this company. We want to be carbon neutral. And we know that in order for us to be carbon neutral, we need to understand our own environmental footprint today. What?
Do they have a full-time resource
Yeah, so Microsoft are unique. They're multiple business units, so we work across a number of business units with them. And so the short answer is yes. Not only do they have a team of people internally that are doing this, they have external consultants that are helping them do it. And then they have us, that are the technology provider, that are helping them do it. So, yeah, they made this commitment, and they recognise that without this commitment, we're really not going to go anywhere. But if we then don't allocate the amount of resources that we need for this project, the project's not going to go anywhere. And then the next part of that was, what are we going to do with all this information? If we don't link it to executive compensation, or we don't have any type of other pricing signals in there, then it's just going to be another report that, I mean, how many times have we gone and had a sustainability report delivered on our desk? Wow, that cover looks really good. What's our environmental footprint? That's great. Okay, now I'm just going to put it on the shelf, and I'll come back to that in 18 months. So that there isn't for a lot of companies, it's hard to define what are we going to do with this information. So early in the process, what we do, what Carbon Systems do, is we sit down with our clients and we say, well, listen, I'd love just to get your business, and I'm more than happy to invoice you for me sitting here, but we really want to create value for you. And in order for us to create value for you, we have to understand, what is it that you need? Where's the pain? How can we improve this so that you get something out of this? Rather than just coming in and saying, well, we've built this enterprise architecture, it's now in the cloud, here's all your information, and we'll walk away and you can do with what you want. We need to be that resource to help guide a client through, well, this is what a client like Microsoft is doing, or this is what a client like AkzoNobel are doing, or this is what one of our facility managers or one of our REIT clients or a manufacturing client are doing, and share that information around. These are the challenges that we faced, and this is a success story here, or we tried this on this level or that level and it didn't work for this reason or the other reason. They do get it, and Rob Bernard, who is the Chief Environmental Strategist at Microsoft, really does get it. I mean, you can imagine what that conversation was like when he walked into the CFO's office and said, I'm going to impose a carbon tax on every business unit here at Microsoft because we're committing to be environmentally neutral. Right? As that door was slammed in his face as fast as it could be initially. But he kept coming back. He was persistent. And now, Microsoft have committed to this, and they're moving down this journey. And I think it's really... This is such a big deal for our industry, because here you've got a tier one brand, a multinational software company that are making a massive investment in energy and sustainability reporting when they really don't have to. And they're just doing it because they want to be good corporate citizens.